Hello, everybody. Welcome back. This week I have Erik with us. I'm super pumped to have him on here. I can't wait for him to share with you a little bit about his business, a little bit about himself, and also he's traveling right now. I won't tell you where he is. I'll let him tell you where he is. He's been traveling a lot. Anyways, having said that, I want to give you a big warm welcome. Erik, welcome to the Tony Shap Show.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about your business.
Yeah, Hawke Media, it's basically an outsourced CMO and marketing team to companies. So we go into brands, identify where there are holes in their marketing strategy or team, and then can spin up different experts all a la carte month to month. So it could be a Facebook marketer, an email marketer, a web designer, a fractional CMO, et cetera. And yeah, we manage marketing for about 550 brands, have about 200 full-time people, and been around about 7 years. And then we also have our venture fund and a financing arm that we can give loans to our clients to scale faster so they have some working capital.
That's really interesting. I can't wait to dive into that a little bit deeper. You're headquartered in LA, right?
Correct.
Yeah, your name is so recognizable. For those of you listening, I mean, his company, and when you say his name or you drop his company name, everyone knows, especially on LinkedIn, because you got a huge footprint. So I'm super honored to have you on the show. So having said that, tell our audience a little bit about your why. Tell us, what's your why about your business, Erik?
Yeah, the why about my business is I came from a frustration. I love being an entrepreneur. I love helping other people. And I found that when I built and sold 2 e-commerce companies before this, and finding marketing help was always just a cluster. It was really, really hard to do. Getting talent in-house has a lot of problems. Agencies, 99% of them are crap. And it just was this, really terrible landscape. And so I was super driven to, originally I started Hawke because I was just helping a few companies that I was advising for. And I was like, I'll just build a little SWAT team and help you guys out. But I really wanted to solve that problem for them. And it worked. And that's when we started scaling, because it's like, oh, we got some good people. Now we're actually doing good work. And the difference between, I guess, acceptable work and everything else is so stark that it just took me finding some people that actually knew what they were talking about. And all of a sudden we're one of the best. It's not, it's not this hyper complicated thing. It's just actually know marketing, actually be good at what you do, and not be, a lot of people are taking, these online courses and things that teach them to do like sort of DR marketing, but not really build brands and build companies. And so they're really good at, spitting out jargon and talking about complicated parts of the Facebook platform. But when it comes down to it, they don't even know how that fits into an overall marketing strategy. And so we built something that was a little more holistic, really focused on the entire funnel, and started there. And, at this point, I've been offered to sell the company for more than my grandkids could retire off of. And I don't want to, because I think we're just getting started. We've solved a problem that's really rewarding. We're watching tons of our clients grow, build companies, succeed. And I think there's a lot of room to keep going with this, because I don't think it's going anywhere. I think that there's still the problem that I started the company around 7 years ago is still completely the same. Like, we've scratched the surface on solving it for the companies that have hired us, but most companies are still dealing with the fact that they're getting sold by us or a 3-person Facebook shop that's promising them that they'll be billionaires in the next year. And when you're a new entrepreneur, it's hard to say no to that when you don't understand that that's all smoke and mirrors. And so that's really what drives it, is really creating accessibility to great marketing. Our mission statement is something that I'm excited about and passionate about.
That's great. Tell us your mission statement that you're passionate about, so everyone knows it too.
That was it. It was accessibility to great marketing for everyone.
That's powerful.
The idea of creating Fortune 100 marketing, but for the masses, that you can easily work with people that know how to grow some of the biggest brands in the world and can help you now. That was the concept. And I didn't think it should be that hard.
That's beautiful. It's really powerful because, a lot of VC backed companies that I speak to or interview on the show, after we stop recording and we're just kind of, making small talk or talking about what you got going on this week, they're like, holy cow, I got this, I got $8 million round, and now I got to grow and build a brand, and I got to handle staff and hiring, all this stuff. So that's really great that you're on here. That way I could point them to this episode as well, so you can kind of get a little bit more understanding about what you do at a high level as well. So let's go right into wins. Can you share a recent win that you've had in your organization that you can share with us, and also what you learned from it?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm even allowed to be saying this, but I'll say it. We should be closing our fund today. We have a venture fund that we've been working on for almost 2 years, and we finally it accelerated really fast the past 3 weeks. And all of a sudden, we went from 60% there to 100% there in 2 weeks. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Awesome. Maybe next time when I have you on here, you'll be able to talk about it because it'll be finalized and everything. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally today. Like today should be the day, and I'm comfortable with that detail because, frankly, by the time this airs, it'll be done. But it's pretty much done. We're just getting a few last signatures.
Awesome. What's been your learning experience throughout this process of this recent win that you're about to close on today?
Yeah, it's just stick with it. I will say, we got about 40% there for our first close to April 2019 was when we got there. And then it took us another year and a half to raise another 20% of it. And then now it took 3 weeks to get the last 40%. So it's one of those things, like, we definitely talked several times about, like, are we going to get there? Like, how should we stick with this? Should we just close it and just invest what we have and show returns and then worry about it next? And it just felt right, like sticking with it. Like, no, we're going to see this through. It's going to take longer than we anticipated, but that's fine. It's our first time doing this. Our portfolio is doing great. We are good at investing, it turns out, and we're performing incredibly well so far. And so it was just, we need to, again, stick with it and see it through. And
Awesome.
you never know what that trigger is going to be. I think that's the biggest critical part of this in terms of learning is it's thankfully a wealth manager that we've known for a few years that was waiting and watching and not sure if he was going to put in or not. And then he fell with a bunch of his friends and connections and stuff, and they all just came in and took the rest of it. And that could have come from anywhere at any point. That could have taken another year. That could have taken a year less. And you just never know. And just keeping on it and building as many of those types of relationships as possible. And this is for raising a fund. For any business, though, you just keep filling your pipeline. And at some point, they start to fall. And that's when you start seeing more and more success.
That's awesome. So like you said, you got to stick to it and just keep working at it. So I was going to ask you if I know you have a team that runs your organization now, but if you could think back on a client that you made the biggest impact to, let's keep the name the client could be unnamed, but I want you to go back in memory and think about like that one client that was on the verge of, there's all these people that you see, other entrepreneurs and businesses, and they have that one breakthrough if they were like on the cusp, on the verge of hitting it, and they almost gave up, but then something they did, they were able to break through, and then they became an overnight success. Like we talk about all the time, a 5-year overnight success, in the making, so to speak. So if you could go back in memory lane and share with us the biggest impact you've ever made to one client. I know you've made to several clients. And
we've worked with about 3,000. So there's different types of impact in terms of like growth and financial impact. There's a couple that we worked with. They had built the company over a couple of years, doing about 30 grand a month in revenue, had a really big PR opportunity, and their company couldn't handle it. So we literally jumped in. They originally interviewed us 6 months before this, decided to go with a local little agency in their neck of the woods. And like same reason I started the company, that agency ended up burning a couple $100,000 of their money, completely screwing them over, did nothing for them, built them a website that didn't work, et cetera. They came to us literally in tears trying to figure out what to do because this big PR opportunity was coming. We rebuilt everything in a month, like just rolled up our sleeves, got shit done for them, got them up and running, and the PR hit, and they went from 30 to 300 grand a month in revenue. We then plugged in all the marketing best practices we know, maintained that, started growing it. That was, I think, 4 years ago. And so 300 grand a month, about 4 million a year. In 2020, they're working with us now. 2020, they did, I believe, $45 million and are continuing to grow. And this is just a husband and wife founder, like great company. So that's one. And I say that because that's the financial gain is amazing. And they've been doing great. And we've had even faster than that. We grew a company in a year and a half from 3 to 130 million in revenue. We also, but the ones that are fun are like the bootstrapped companies. There was one company we worked with where the woman had a really successful prior career, super sweet woman. Her husband was sick, and so she had to kind of drop the career and stay at home and take care of him. And so she started a fashion company, and we got it to within a couple of years, it was doing $5, $6, $7 million in revenue, and it's continued to grow, which gave her all the sort of passion she needed to have something going on, even though she has to be home, as well as like she's making amazing money. Like she doesn't have to worry about the care and all that. She's got a really solid business now. And that was always really cool because we started from scratch with literally nothing with her and grew that out of her house and helped her scale that to be something that is meaningful.
That's awesome. I know there's always clients that you help, and you help, a lot. I mean, but there's some of them that stick out, right? They're
Yeah.
outside the outlier, so to speak, and but sometimes it's too many, right? So we talked about the positives. I mean, I don't really like to call, sorry about that. I don't like to call them positives or negatives. Let's just talk. We talked about wins. Let's talk about not so wins. That's a cleaner way of doing it. So can you share with us, the audience can understand like something that you recently happened and what you learned from it that was not a win?
Something recently. It's been a pretty good year, honestly. Like I mean, the hard part was COVID, I'd say. Like I'm not so that we weren't, it was a positive and negative, so I don't want to sugarcoat it, but it was, what happened was we, actually, I'll go back before that. So pre-COVID, we spent 2018 and 19 scaling very fast and getting our team bigger, et cetera. And we didn't really focus on profitability, even though we're not funded. We have no debt, no outside capital. And we got to a point where COVID hit China, really actually impacted our business. We were over our skis, and we actually had to, pre-COVID and now in the US, had to make some changes, cut a few people, and some people that needed to go, some people that didn't. And we were just bloated. We had allowed ourselves to get bloated before that happened. And so that was a shame because of, not frankly, about half, we cut, I think it was 15 people. About half of them didn't deserve to be cut, and about half of them did. And if we had just cut the people that deserved to be faster, it wouldn't have been an issue. And that was a big learning lesson, is like, don't get bloated and over your skis, and like, just didn't, invest in the future, be reactive. It's okay. And then on top of that, when people need to be fired, fire them, because they're going to take other people down with them if you don't. And that ended up being a really big problem. So we got that. A month later, COVID hit. And that took our business down about 25% in April. And we always, my partner and I used to honestly say this jokingly, is like, listen, in a recession, we're a cost-effective solution. So like, we might end up going up market a little bit because smaller companies won't be able to like spend the money, but then mid-size and larger companies, we're way better than the agencies they're working with now. They're getting just screwed on fees. And when it matters, I think we're going to have a great time. We still haven't seen that recession. Like, I wouldn't count what happened last year as a recession. It was a shift, but consumer spending wasn't really down. So, I mean, across the board. So we were always like, but if the whole world shuts down, our business is screwed. We're in trouble. And then the whole world shut down on March 13th. And it was like, oh, wow. Okay. So super stressful time. And I spent a month talking to our clients, other CEOs, et cetera, just talking them off a ledge, because it's interesting to watch how people deal with fear. Some people, it's the fight or flight thing. And so you deal with people that fight, that are like, let's get this, fuck this. My competitors are probably struggling more than I am. I'm going to go after it. And then you get the flight people that are like, no, everything's falling apart. Just cut everything. And it's amazing to watch how people deal with these things. And so I talked to a lot of people out of flight into fight, which our average client in Q2 of last year doubled their revenue, because it was just such a great time. If you were in digital and you stuck with it, you crushed it, because so many people out of fear bailed out of the way. So Facebook and Google cost dropped 30%. And the average consumer went from spending 13% of their purchases online to 30. So it was a huge jump in market share, plus a drop in advertising costs. We just saw a huge amount of growth. And so, but it took sticking with it. And so April, we lost 25% of our clients. May, we actually recovered. And by June, we had a record month. So I decided we actually spent more money on marketing. I had my team work. And for we had already cut some people to like make the company sustainable. I wasn't going to do it again. And so I told my team, like, if you're losing a bunch of clients, find another way to contribute. Help us with our own marketing, help us get clients, do a bunch of other stuff. And so we got through that month really rallying together and figuring it out. And then again, we are able to boost ourselves back into where we needed to be, and didn't cut a single person during that time. After a couple months, we did end up firing a few people that didn't adapt to working from home well and didn't show up, like took advantage of the situation. But other than that, we were able to get through it really well.
Yeah, to your point, there's a lot of arbitrage in the marketplace. Like you said, a lot of people doubling down, and other people just fight or flight. So it's just interesting that you said that. So let's shift over to favorite online business tools. Do you have one that you use every day that you cannot live without?
Favorite online? I mean, as a company, yes, but I'm gonna say personally, my favorite's Captio, a little app that I just email myself notes all the time. So like if I'm in between calls or whatever, I'm not running around, I can quickly email myself something by just opening the screen, typing send, and I use my email box as my to-do list as well. So it keeps those reminders there.
Totally get that. I understand exactly what you're talking about. So let's talk about credit cards because the show is sponsored by our
Yep.
company, Globally Paid. Could you survive if you did not accept a single credit card payment?
Survive, I think, yes. What I want to know, meaning like so even as Hawk, first off, our clients, I don't think they could. Like e-commerce, I don't think could function without credit cards. So on that side, I don't know how that would work. As our business, we're the ticket items big enough that we do work with checks and wires and everything else. But with credit card, like we're a recurring business and chasing people for money is a big, like we have a full-time person on that. That's ridiculous. And so having their credit card and just automatically hitting it every month as we keep working together just gets something off our plate that, like, even with the small fees that credit card fees that have, they have, it's totally worth it. It's a no-brainer.
Absolutely. So share with us your on if you could tell, this is going to be a weird question. So if you were 20 years old, what would you tell your 20-year-old yourself when you were 20 years old? Like not 21, not 19, but 20.
When I was 20, I'm trying to
Yeah.
remember what I was doing. When I was 20, I would just say, kind of keep on the path. Like that was when went to launch my first business, and it was the amount I learned. Like thankfully when I went into college, so when I was like 17, I already had this mindset of like I'm going to spend every year learning something new and building the idea of like so that I can take it into my future. And I wanted to like always go for something bigger than I should be doing. So at 20 years old, I was starting a storm drain filtering business in Oxnard, California with a buddy because they had just passed a law in California that it was the law. And I was like banging on commercial doors to say like, hey, you have, in a parking lot, it was like, I think a storm drain had to be placed every 12 feet. So if we had these big buildings, I'll never forget getting like kicked off Gold's Gym's property in Oxnard and getting yelled at and called a con artist because they didn't know what I was talking about and thought I was trying to scam them. And like that was just a great experience to like see how people can be reactive and all this stuff happens. And yeah, so it was more just, keep it up, like go for it.
Understood. That was really cool. What's that one question that I should ask you, Eric? Or what's that one question you wish more people would ask you, but they never do, which is like a killer question to ask someone like you?
It's definitely marketing focused. Yeah, I mean, and some people do obviously, but I would just say like, what are either the biggest things you see people miss in marketing, or what are the most basic big things that you see people miss in marketing? Because it's amazing, the multi-billion-dollar companies I see missing a huge portion of their marketing. We're writing a book on it now called The Hawke Method that should come out later this year, but that would be the thing, which is why I'm writing the book on it.
Great. Can you give us a little insight into like high level what that is? One of the
Yeah,
maybe.
it's really just we've developed a framework around how we analyze marketing, which helps us figure out what the company needs. And it's around the idea of there's three pillars of marketing: awareness, nurturing, and trust. Awareness is how you get new attention for the company, how you let people know that you even exist. Nurturing is what you do with that awareness to convert them to a customer and then keep them as a customer. And trust, also known as brand, is how do you actually get trust for your company, because 75% of people won't purchase from a company they don't inherently trust. Early on, that can be third-party validation like press, influencer marketing, testimonials, et cetera. And later on, it's brand, it's consistency. It's Coca-Cola and McDonald's. You know what you're getting, you trust it. Doesn't mean you like it. It's not about like or not. It's consistency. You're going to trust that McDonald's is maybe not going to make you feel great, but it's going to taste the same no matter where you are in the world. Like that kind of thing. That's trust. So, and the biggest thing people miss is nurturing. Everybody goes into advertising. Everybody wants to run Facebook ads and Google ads, TV ads, and everything and get their name out there. And they don't realize there's this thing called a purchase cycle, which means from the time that you advertise to the time someone actually buys, there's a period of time. And for e-commerce, at a $50 cart, it's usually around 3 weeks, $100 around 5 weeks, $200 around 6 weeks. It trails off between 2 and 3 months on any impulse buy. But like knowing that means that if you run an ad today, you're not going to see even half of the returns for 3 weeks on a $50 product. So knowing that, it allows you to not only watch your marketing in a different way. So you're not running an ad today and like, well, I didn't make any money, so let's turn it off. Like we deal with that shit a little too much. And it's like, that's not how this works. But also following up with people to make sure that they actually convert so that you can accelerate that purchase cycle and also raise your conversion rate on that because you're staying in touch with them during that consideration period where they're thinking about, should I buy this or not? So that's really the most critical thing that I see. Again, I've recently had multi-billion-dollar well-known companies that everybody you listening would know not doing anything on that side of the business.
That was remarkable. Thank you so much. That was a lot of gems. I mean, like packed. So I really appreciate that for the audience. So how can our listeners get a hold of you if you want to find out more information about your company, if you want to give out your website address, or if they have any questions about this conversation, let us know.
Yeah, so for the website, I mean, you can always, our team does free marketing audits, so you can go to hawkemedia.com. That's easy. And then I'm on every social platform, @Erik Huberman. Super easy.
Perfect. I'll be sure to put that in the show notes. And as we're coming to an end here, if you could sign us off with a one-word close, Erik, what would that be?
Drive.
Drive. And why drive? Why drive?
All right. So it's been the word that I like because it's got a double entendre where it's like drive, meaning like being driven, being motivated, that kind of thing. But it's also drive, like being in control. I think that like not being a victim and controlling your own destiny and keeping your own motivation has always been something that I've been passionate about. And I think it's an important thing for entrepreneurs to understand is like, you chose to do this, you're in the driver's seat, like drive, like it's up to you.
Oh, Erik, thank you so much. There you have it, audience. There's Erik. He gave us some wonderful gems, many. I think the good thing about this, I always keep saying, is unlike Clubhouse, with the podcast, you can rewind and write these notes down. So if you're driving, rewind back and write down these notes. And then now, if you want to get a hold of Erik, I'll put that in show notes. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to having you back on here soon.
Definitely. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.